live stream in what
3 weeks, 2 weeks.
Welcome back. Super excited to be back. It's been one heck of a tournament. It's crazy to think we're already down to our final four teams. Before I kick it over to you, my friend, I told I told Sam before we got on, so I kind of felt bad for those that excuse me, for those that are in our bracket challenge. I forgot to completely forgot to shout everybody out here. So we actually have some people doing very, very well. So right now we got that type deals picks two in first, 1,090 points. ESPN fan, a bunch of numbers, picks two, who picked the Gators, 1,040 points. And then another ESPN fan with a bunch of numbers picks three, 970 points, tied with Dan Raymond's with 970. Another ESPN fan with a bunch of numbers, 960. Before you read that,
You get these bot accounts. I don't know.
I was gonna say, like, if you are like, I am all for it. Do your thing. Like, you don't have to name it anything weird if you don't want
Just
to.
reveal
If you
yourself.
want
It's
your
the
merch,
yeah,
if you want your merch, please find me on
absolutely.
Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, any social media, and just let me know who you are, and I will get you that. Um, and then another one, 950 AOC Walls, 930 at seventh, and John's Attack 910. And yeah, wow. I
I
see
have
three
I have
more people.
I have a second bracket on there, Jack.
I
I
don't
had I have I I had Houston and Duke, but then I had freaking St. John's. Man, St. John's is what killed me.
yeah, no doubt. Yeah,
RJ Lewis
yeah,
going 3 for 14 or whatever that was.
that was that was how you say
That we had a fun live stream hyping that up. But look at us. I mean,
yeah,
that
no,
was fun. Those are some really. That was a. This has been a great tournament, despite it being mostly chalk.
no, it has been a
It
really good
is chalk.
tournament. It's been a great tournament. I
No, you got the little. You got the baby in the background.
oh yeah, a little soothing. Um,
It's all good. Yeah.
we were gonna talk. We were gonna start with
It's April Fool's, man. We ain't fooling anybody.
right. Um, we were gonna start with talking about Nico Medved as the Gophers head coach, but before we do that, I mean, you just kind of alluded to it. It's been a good tournament so far. You hear from a lot of those casual fans or fans that like the upsets that, oh my gosh, it's been a really crappy tournament, and it's like, well, it hasn't been a crappy tournament because if you really think
No,
about
it's good fun.
in my mind as like an actual big basketball fan, like if the community does their part right, every one, two, three, four, five seed should be making it. And now I won't go as far to say as what Wally Zerbiak said, saying that this is arguably the best tournament ever.
Gosh,
You know,
Wally.
I think that's a bold statement. It's probably
Yeah.
one of the best. It's not the best, I wouldn't say. Um, but yeah, I mean, if you're a real basketball fan, you don't really care too much about upsets, not upsets. Like, yeah, it's always fun to watch a
Yeah,
Cinderella.
it's just the way the game is, but with the NIL and the transfer portal and how
Mm,
much that has changed the game, and also with the conference mergers and all that. But um,
no doubt. I mean, this tournament's not even
overall, a
over.
great tournament. Overall, a great tournament. I mean,
Yeah.
it's there's a good product on the court. So
No doubt. And
um,
before we get into it, you just brought up a great point too. I mean, this transfer portal, it is like it just makes it so much more active. The tournament's not even over, and you're already seeing guys that have lost in the tournament that are not only entering the transfer portal but are already verbally committing to other schools before the tournament's even over. So again, it goes back to what we talked about with college football. There needs to be some boundaries. There needs to be some rules in place, and the NCAA will figure it out. But at the end of the
there's
day,
there's a certain merit to it, and I mean, it probably was a joke on ESPN, but there was a headline that said, "Are we coming to a point of unlimited transfer portals?" And it's just like, well, if you're a college kid and you can play sport, I don't know. It
no, and
definitely is a
I
huge
remember
topic of discussion.
Right, and I can't. And again, there's still it's probably going to be another decade, maybe 2 decades before they iron out everything and get it to where perfect, to where or close to perfect, where it should be. I can't remember if I was talking with you about it or who I was, but essentially, like, I think the NCAA needs to look at each sport as its own, like, 1099, like its own company, because, like, the football season, shouldn't be open during the bowl season, just like in March Madness. As soon as March Madness starts, you shouldn't be able to do any of that stuff until after it's done. But whatever.
It's a process. It's just after, like, once we had COVID, that just it changed everything with the transfer portals, and here we are 5 years later, starting to see, this is what was created, and whether you believe in it or not, this is the new thing. There are going to be transfer portals. There are going to be NIL deals. However, it's just more about, I don't know, educating these players, because you could be an upcoming NIL agent and talking to all these kids and just creating a bad atmosphere. So I mean, it's just got to be in good judgment, I guess, when it comes to that. But when people are making $3 million, sources tell me a Gopher football player is making $3 million. So
Yeah, well, and
it's
again, we don't need to get too into it, but I think there's something about it that, to me, anyways, it's one thing if like Gatorade personally reaches out to Cooper Flag, like, hey, we want to pay you to do this for us. That's one thing. I think the money that comes from the university, it needs to be treated, like I said, as like a business, where it's like the NCAA is like, all right, here's our bankroll. North Carolina, you get this money. It's your job as the dean, as whoever, to divvy it up, because the harsh
it's a dog eat dog of
harsh
institutions,
reality
man. I
of it,
mean, there's a
the
reason why
harsh
colleges cut their programs. I apologize to interrupt you, but
no, I was
I
just
get it. I see what you're saying, though. Absolutely.
I mean, the harsh reality is, I heard my uncle say it, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, you're totally right. Any money that gets funneled to the school, whether it's from football boosters, whether it's from who, they can say, okay, we'll do our best to make sure some of it gets to the football club, but it's like you send it to the school. There are swimmers there on scholarship that need money. There are golfers there
Yeah.
on scholarship that need money. So
Yeah.
it's now, and like I said, it's completely
It,
different if you it like the money from the
it's
school
hard, man. It's not an easy job.
versus the local car dealership, if they want to reach out to um if they want to reach out to uh,
Mauer Chevrolet.
yeah, like if they want to reach out, yeah, the Mauer Chevrolet of North
Yeah.
Carolina, if they want to personally reach out to Cooper Flake, that's completely fine. You're reaching out to Cooper Flake, he should get that money. But if the money from the school, it needs to be divvied up. But again,
Yeah, no, I know that's going to be a down the road
no,
conversation,
it's
but
gonna be interesting.
I get
But
it. Same sides
yeah.
on that. Anyway, Nico Medved,
Yeah,
bro.
you were right. Our guy Nico Medved, again. I will be the first to admit, I think it's like, after reading into it, I didn't really watch any of his actual press conference. I listened to kind of highlights of it and kind of took some notes on it. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I still don't know much about the guy. You were right. Take us kind of through why you think we knocked it out of the park with this hire.
It was great hire. I mean, I wanted them to talk to Phil Martelli Jr. I don't know, just for the hell of it. But I knew Nico Medved was going to be essential. That we fell in love with them, and apparently even 2 weeks ago, he was already signed, sealed, delivered when his team was in the tournament. But
Before
um,
they lost, you mean?
no, like, it was already had been discussed. Like, Nico was already, like, once Ben was fired, Nico knew he was next.
See, and that's again,
Hmm.
we're focusing on Nico Bevan, but that's the other thing too. It's like, look, if you like college basketball wise, men and women's, the second conference tournament starts, you cannot talk to
There
like
should be no contact. Absolutely.
you can't have zero contact. The rule should be, because once upon a time, if you want to
Especially when you got people gambling on these games too, as well. So it's just like that
no,
creates more.
well, and that's the thing. Like, once upon a time, some young people might not know this. If you were going to transfer, you had to sit out a year of eligibility. Used to. So
Sometimes
you're at
two.
Ohio State. Yes.
Wasn't it sometimes 2 years?
I don't remember 2 years.
Oh,
But like if you were a
It's
quarterback at
weird.
Ohio State who thought you were going to play a lot, you got beat out in training camp and you were the QB3, you didn't play at all. And you're like, hey, I want to go to LSU. This coach told me I could play there. If you wanted to do that once upon a time, if you said, hey, I'm going to transfer there, you could go to LSU, but you had to sit on the sidelines, forfeit a year of eligibility
Yep.
before you even play.
Yep. That was the thing. But anyway, so we the Gophers. We
Digress.
we got we got the I forgot the kid's name, but he's a 6 foot kid and from Colorado State. He's our first transfer portal commitment for Nico.
Yeah, I
So
was gonna say, I think
um,
there were two guys, two of his players that kind of are following him, which is says a lot about him as a coach too.
kind of looks like you too.
That's
People tell
really what
have
every
people been telling you have people been telling you that?
no, nobody ever said that. You were the only one that ever said it.
Whatever. It's all good, but
I,
it's close. It's close.
okay,
Um,
take your word for it.
but he's doing great. He's a piece of Clem Haskins because he was a student manager of that team in 96, 97.
Yes, that's right.
So, and he's coached at Drake, and then he coached at Colorado State. Um, yeah, it is with the transfer portal, the NIL. He can get like a good basketball team. Like this ship can turn around quickly. But what I like what he's been saying, it's more about the consistency. Like, you can bring all these players one and done's in, but how do you actually build like a factory where it's like people want to come to the
Yeah,
U, people want to come to play at the barn again, and and that's why he talked about in his
yeah,
press conference, is like bringing out the ghosts at the barn. Like I understood what he was talking about because I missed those glory days of like you couldn't beat us at the barn, like you couldn't, like there was no chance. So
yeah.
I, I'm optimistic. Just hopefully some of these top 30 Minnesota State basketball players, are getting some contacts and we build a good
Yeah,
program. But we'll see. I'm just wearing my Gopher stuff in spirit for it. So
right.
let's get motivated.
Skyuma. No, I,
But
I again, not really knowing too much about him. It wasn't until it was like actually official that I actually like started like researching him, looking at that kind of stuff. And I kind of talked about two things the last time we were on the live stream about okay, regardless of who you hire, the two things that you need from a relatively young coach. You need to know how to win and you need to know how to recruit. And looking into it, you alluded to, this guy does know how to win. The number one, I just wrote some notes here. The number one statistic in determining the success of a head coach is their record. So you look at his record. He has a 222 and 172 overall record in 12 seasons. In his last 4 seasons alone at Colorado State, he led the Rams to a 91 and 45 record, 669 winning percentage. Um, he might not have had some great, um, outstanding record like Calipari or anybody
yeah,
like.
but he produced an NBA player, David Roddy,
Yep,
Colorado State
yep. And I was gonna say he well,
from
and
Minnesota.
side too. He brought Colorado State to the NCAA tournament 3 times and since or no, Colorado State's only been to the state to NCAA tournament 3 times since 1990 before Medved arrived. And in his 4 seasons, he brought him there 3 of the 4 times. And my whole thing, I understand there's a large number. I mean, you look at the playing field for March Madness until they make it bigger. There's 64 teams. So on any given year, you're going to have 32 teams.
60, but
Yeah. There 32, no, 30 teams because two of them
you
got
got you have 68 teams. You got the first
yeah.
four, and
But I mean,
they're
like
gonna they're gonna
you're gonna have
expand it.
30 teams that are good enough to make it to March Madness that won't even win. So would you love to be a Duke, a North Carolina, a Kentucky, one of those teams that religiously makes it to the tournament and is always at least
Because
sweet?
they're a basketball factory.
Yeah, of course you would love to be there, but if you're the Gophers, I think this next step is you just need to be a team that, regardless of if you get wins or how far you get, you just need to be a team that you're religiously getting there and even getting double digit seed.
being a Minnesotan dude, you just gotta love like being a Gopher basketball fan again. Like it's died. Like it's just been in such shambles, and you know, with COVID, it essentially just was like case in point. But I'm optimistic. I it's you just got to be you just got to be passionate about who you're playing for, where you're going to school, and just enjoy it. I
No doubt.
It's not all about the money, you know, but it's more about the brand. You just got to build the brand again and make it get those banners back up. 96, 97, that season
Yeah.
did happen. I did
Well,
see that.
well, and it's just like anything. I mean, you can't win March Madness if you don't get to it. Like, okay, maybe three of because his contract's 6 years, so maybe three
Yeah,
of
he's getting paid.
maybe hopefully we can only hope maybe he brings us to the NCAA tournament 5 times, and maybe only one, maybe two of those times we actually get a win. But hey, you got to make it there, and
I, I think we're going to but we'll be a solid. I mean, it'll be a product this season
you have to
that they'll
be, yeah,
have.
exactly. You have to be.
But I mean, I'm not saying that they're going to go 25-7 or anything like that. But
No, but
you know,
I think if you're Coyle and Medved too, I'd have to double check. I looked it up actually at work.
Royce was talking about strengthening their non-conference schedule, and that's a no shit.
See, and that's not a bad way to go at it, because it's like even if you're the Gophers and you have a tougher non-conference, that's my thing with even the football team, the Gopher football team. Like even if you don't have a great record, like how many games did they play in the regular season at the college level? What is it, 30 before you get into the tournament?
For
31,
college basketball.
like how many regular season games are there?
Well, 28. I want to say like 28, and then the conference tournament. So
Okay,
you
so
could
let's say,
theoretically
like,
play
I mean,
33.
because this is my honest to God opinion on this whole thing. Like, I would much rather have a Gopher team that's barely getting into March Madness on a,
Make it interesting.
on a what would that be, on a like a 16-12 record, but a lot of your losses are from Kentucky. Maybe you lost to North Carolina.
Sure, the strength of schedule will bail you out for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, like I would much rather, and that's been my issue with this Gopher team and this Gopher program. Like you have these cake puffs for non-conference, which is, which is
Cookman, and
which is great. But guess what? I couldn't tell you the last time they had a cake. Like they went 100%. Like if you're having these easy teams in your as your non-conference, you should be wiping the floor with every single one of them, and they never do. They always find a way to lose to two or three of them, and then you
to
walk
South
in
to South
because
Dakota, to St. Thomas's conference foes,
because the harsh, well, because I mean,
South Dakota State, North Dakota State.
the harsh reality of it is there are so many dominant programs like we talk about in the Big Ten, like the North Carolinas and Dukes. You have the Ohio
UCLA's and Oregon's and
USC. Like you at least need to be in the top half of the Big
just
Ten.
be respect. Yeah, just have a product.
Yeah, be
You
honorable.
know,
And exactly. I mean, I talked about this at length, regardless of sports. Um, you have to be able to win at home. You don't need to be beating teams 100-52 when they come into your place. But if you're like, that's the difference in my mind between good teams and great teams. Great teams know how to win at home. It's
but
like
then they
it's
also have the crowd. Like there's that energy though. There is an energy when
there
it
is
comes to being at basketball games, and I don't know
and
whether
when you look at Duke, even that team, they lost 3 times in this regular season. I
well, they're
believe
so good.
two
They're
of
so
them were
good.
out, and they are, and two of them, you guessed it, were on the road. The other one was at a neutral location for, I think it was like a tournament or something like that. So that team was, and even UNC, who had a lackluster year, I want to say they
Yeah,
finished.
sorry about that, bud.
But I mean, like,
You had me pumped up in that first four matchup, but oh,
but my
UNC.
point being, like, even UNC, I want to say they only lost 2 or 3 home games, and that's not something that the Gophers can say. You know what I mean? So it's just like you
Yeah,
have to be able to get it done at home. If you can't get it done at home, there's just no hope. So, uh, but yeah, I mean,
and but that's why you build the prog. You get everybody excited again. There is a lot of good talent in the state of Minnesota. We're probably ready for Nico's calls, and let's rebuild the brand of Minnesota Gopher basketball.
No kidding.
That's all I gotta say.
The last thing I want to say before we get going into the Tourney so far, in my opinion, there were four big takeaways from his introductory press conference. The first one was, I'm sure you heard this: "You ain't getting out of the barn alive."
Exactly.
I love it. He's not guaranteeing a win.
That's the energy.
Whole game.
That's the energy.
You want a coach that's coming in that's gonna bring the heat.
Michigan found out this year, but Nico wasn't there. But we beat Michigan this year, so
he's already
they didn't know it.
He apparently has already talked with the maintenance staff and with the school about he doesn't want to do anything like big to it, but he wants to do some serious renovations that'll make it look nicer and kind of get the things going and make it people friendly. I think
it's
so that
like the men's bathrooms.
Yeah, that number 2 was showing respect to Ben Johnson. That guy, I'm not going to mince my words here. That guy was fucking awful. He was terrible. I understand back.
Apologize, Ben Johnson, if you're listening to this. He doesn't mean what he says. But yes, he wasn't great. He
was awful.
He was more of a relationship seller without the money. But yeah, you're looking up his stats. I know he wasn't great at all. And now Richard Pitino's going to Xavier. How about that?
56 and 71. Fucking awful. Anyway,
they went 19 and 14 last year. Don't matter.
Anyway, my point being was, despite how awful he was, it would have been so easy for Medved to not even bring up the guy's name or to maybe take a quiet shot at him.
Yeah.
I thought the fact that what did he say? He mentioned him as a friend. He said he's a part of Gopher basketball history. And then he even mentioned if there was there's always a spot for him to kind of help out if he wants to, which is incredible. I think not only does that say that just says a lot about him as a person. The third thing is him retaining his assistant coach. This guy.
Yeah, Dave Thorson's staying on the.
He left De La Salle, went with him to Drake, went with him to Colorado State, and now he's coming here. And the last thing that I loved about him was he addressed the whole NIL and financial discussion. And he did it in a good way. It could have been very easy for him to come to a school like the Gophers and been nice little, make sure you donate more money, haha, and throw some of that kind of stuff out there. And he didn't really talk in terms of that.
You gotta send it to who you need to send it to, and that's what Dinkytown Sports is
exactly.
The big one right now. So
and it's worth noting that it was highlighted by Parker Fox, Dawson Garcia, Isaac Azuma
from Cherry,
and Grayson Grove were all in attendance, and it sounds like all 5 of them are at least thinking about coming back for the roster spots next year too. So
yeah, we lost Parker Jefferson. He was one of the recruits under Ben Johnson. He sent his letter of going back into recruitment, so we lost him. But honestly, there's did you pay attention to the Minnesota Mr. Basketball at all?
Not really, no.
Okay. Well, there's this kid from Alexandria who won Mr. Basketball, and he's going to Clemson. It's just dang, man. How come we can't get these? How can we these out of the metro area kids? Minneapolis isn't so bad. It's yes, we've had our peaks and valleys and rifts and all that, but it's always fun when your college sports or any sports team's good in your city.
The Minnesota Golden Gophers, unfortunately, just aren't known as a basketball school.
And now St. Thomas is going to be turning into it.
I was going to say too, one of the funny things I was going to bring up too, he also said St. Thomas doesn't want anything to do with us, which how much I love, St. Thomas, and it's obviously fun to be part it doesn't matter where you go to school, you're always going to root for your alma mater. But it's super fun that they made that transition from D3 to D1. But it's funny because I think somebody asked him about, in the foreseeable future, kind of
Yeah, he will.
we'll
He
see between them. And but I kind of like, as a Gopher fan, I kind of liked him essentially saying St. Thomas doesn't want anything to do with
he
us.
said, yeah, he was like, give him, tell Johnny Tower to give me a call. Was
Yeah, no,
essentially
and
what he said.
honestly, I think
So
it would be super fun because I've been adamant about this since the beginning of the Tommy's second season, that if Ben Johnson and this whole culture, hopefully, Ben John or hopefully Nico Medved can get it done. But if they can't get it done, St. Thomas is, just jump them, and it's not even going to be that big of a jump with where they are.
yeah,
So, again, I, basketball fan, Gopher fan, and um Gopher fan and Tommy fan, and I look at this Gopher hockey program that they have too. That's the thing that Don Lucia did a great job of, and Bob Motzkow is doing a great job of now. It's like you said, they're retaining that Minnesota talent, and Nico Medved, that needs to be like his number one priority. Like, let's at least secure these good players from our own state, and then
yeah.
maybe we'll do our thing.
The-
'Cause we have so
I'm
much
still
talent at
I'm
that point.
still sore right now with the recent Gopher hockey loss to
Yeah. We don't need to go
Massachusetts.
down that rabbit hole, but that's such
I know, but it's just
can we
like
just say that's such a Minnesota way to win the game. Like, every single after
okay.
the Massachusetts guy dumped our player, literally every skater stopped the ice because they thought it was gonna get called. Everybody stopped.
I the Gophers are really, but at the same time, I mean, at least it's not so bad because year in year out, they are a team that can win the national championship. I mean, I guess that still gave me hope because of the one team that went back to back in what 02, 03, 03,
Oh,
04.
well,
So,
and yet again,
but
this is the difference between the
but they're also like NHL type players, and they yeah, it's just it's a hockey factory at the U of M for sure to get like
oh,
NHL
exactly.
players and
I was
whatnot.
gonna
So
say they already lost Jimmy Snuggerud. He signed his
still shitty that they lose in the tournament, but at least they're making a tournament. So
Well, no, because that's what I was gonna say too. I mean, they were a team that a lot of people are picking to win the whole thing this year, and they're gonna be another team next year, right
yeah,
where
I mean,
they
because
finish with an
they just
opportunity to.
resupply.
But again, that's because Don Lucia did his job. Can't remember who it was, but there was a couple years between Don Lucia and Bob Moscow who wasn't doing a great job. They said, "Fuck you." They got this other guy is going to do it. So hopefully Nico can retake this program over and make it a hotbed for at least Minnesota players, because I've said it before
Yeah,
about the football team and the basketball team. There's so much talent, football and basketball wise, just in Minnesota. Retain those guys. Don't make them like, every once in a while, the Jalen Suggs, the Chet Holmgrens, they're going to want to go somewhere else because they're, oh, look at me, blah, blah, blah. But these, you can get some good.
now come on.
Anyways,
the, you're going down that rabbit hole of 5 6 years ago when the Gophers have not had a respectful brand. So Jalen Suggs and Chet Holmgren, did what they thought was best, and look what they're doing now. They're in the NBA happy as clams. So
but
full
yeah,
bitterness.
so super. I mean, clearly both of us, if you couldn't already tell, clearly both of us super excited. Super glad Nico is here. He's a Minnesota guy. We didn't really talk on this too much, but Minnesota guy, which means he's gonna know how to recruit these players. He kind of knows it's been a while. He's from Roseville, Minnesota, but he knows the area. He knows the program. It's a familiar face to him. So he's gonna know what these kids and what this program want to hear and what they need and this and that. So it'll be interesting.
It'll be fun.
But I think it's important for people to know, because you and I kind of have to be the ones to tell those casual basketball fans. Not this upcoming season, but between this upcoming season and his second season, that's going to be his first official recruiting class. So
Mhm.
him through is the end of his second season, which you bet I will do too, to really start criticizing the guy. So
They go around and around and around in the circles. No,
exactly.
I think we'll be all right. I mean,
No, it'll
I
be
think
fun.
people are.
I'm
I think
excited.
people are gonna buy into it. Especially, I mean, I always forget that those banners were like put in a storage closet
Only
because
one of them.
the the NC they you check record books, dude. I mean, you go on like Gopher Sports or like anything about like the late '80s, early '90s. Like I had to show you that one box score. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, Alabama State. Oh, the Gophers beat the 114-34. And you were like, no way.
No, I was
And
gonna
I
say, I think they vacated not only I think, like, the cheating and everything that happened was so bad that not only did they vacate their Final Four appearance, but they vacated, I think, their entire season.
it's just so sad, dude. I mean, I have like
It's so sad, but at the
I
same
have
time,
PT like
so
trauma from that. That's
it's so
terrible.
pathetic. It's like, how dumb do you have to be to have to be that, like, whatever. We don't have to get down that rabbit hole, but it's like, how, like, why? How? I don't get it.
Just imagine if this happened today,
Right.
and it probably does because it's a lot easier with technology. But yeah, typewriters and shit back in the mid '90s, so MS DOS days. But um, I don't know. But Royce tells what says is something about menstrual cycles, and they didn't want to write the paper, so she did it. That's the story that I've
Okay,
been
we
hearing
don't
around.
to the whole women and thing and that. So on that note, that's how we feel about Nico Medved becoming coach. Why don't we jump into the tournament so far? That seems like a good segue.
but but no. Anyway, that I've been listening to Patrick Royce too much, but also Judd Zulgad.
Yeah.
Um, but that's
Yeah. Why don't we start with you? I mean, like I said, this has been for a lot of those fans that really like the Cinderella, like watching the Cinderella story of the tournament. The upsets. It's been pretty anticlimactic that way. You saw McNeese State
you
beat
really
Clemson in the first round. You saw
you
Arkansas
really didn't have that many.
St. John's, but other than that, there hasn't been a lot of upsets. So with that, Sammy, who are two or three teams that a couple teams that have really surprised you in the tournament so far? And who are
Yeah, so I appreciate the Gopher therapy session, but um, yeah, I would say Arkansas was a little bit of a surprise with them being St. John's. I didn't think that they would be going to the Sweet 16.
no?
Um,
I didn't even
but
realize until our podcast we did our last live stream that Kalapari was their head coach. If they did, I probably would have thought
right,
about taking
yeah,
if I knew that, I probably would have thought harder about taking them over St. John's, actually. Anyway,
we totally like brain froze that, but
I knew he was
it's
coaching for someone. We can roll the tape back. I knew he was coaching for someone. I just didn't know who.
yeah, and I was like, he was still at Art or he was still at Kentucky or some shit, but yeah, I kind of spaced that one. Um, there haven't really like Colorado State is the only Cinderella. Like
Yeah, I mean, they haven't.
everything really went chalk for the most part.
Yeah, and
Uh,
truthfully, again, there are a lot of people that are like, "Oh, this is so boring to watch." It's like, no, like if you really think about it, like only I mean, you have 24 teams, so that's the top 6 teams are all like already predetermined for each region. If the committee is really doing their part, all 4 of those 1 seeds should be in the Final Four. All 1 and 2 should be in the Elite Eight. All 1, 2, 3, and 4s should be in the Sweet 16. That's essentially what happened so far.
yeah, I mean, you had your prototypical 12 over 5 in a couple of them. I mean, Colorado State and
I think only 2.
McNeese State.
Mhm.
But no, but you didn't have like any Cinderellas go from the first round to the Sweet 16, or no Florida Atlantics or Wichita States or VCUs or anything like that this year. It was pretty chalky.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm not kidding. Like, this is the Sweet 16 in the South. Number 1 Auburn, number 5 Michigan, number 6 Ole Miss, I guess, number 2 Michigan State. But other than that, In the East, it was number 1 Duke, number 4 Arizona, number 5 BYU, number 2 Alabama, and then Houston, Purdue, Kentucky, Tennessee. I guess Arkansas, but I mean, other than Arkansas and who did I say up here? Old Miss. Everything was pretty. I mean, how it should have gone.
Yeah, this is how I never get a perfect bracket. You overthink it, you
Right.
overanalyze it, shit, I should have done that. What was I? Yeah, it's fun. But but hey, I'm still alive in one of yours. I mean, you put in two brackets, so still have Houston. He's still alive, but I honestly think Duke is going to beat them.
Yeah,
I think Duke's got it. I mean, Cooper Flag is something else.
Uber Flag is a beast. I mean, truthfully, I would kind of agree with you. Like, I think I was gonna kind of talk about St. John's as one of those teams that underwhelmed before knowing that John Calipari was Arkansas coach.
I know. We could have spent 20 minutes debating that.
But like, I'm not kidding. If you look at and again, this isn't me throwing shade at St. John's. But if you look at like they finished the year 31-5, so they lost 5 games, and they're in the Big East. So, and to their credit, they have a couple of good solid teams in the Big East. They had to play Creighton twice, UConn twice, Marquette twice, Xavier, Villanova, Georgetown. Like, there's some solid teams in here that, I mean, should even DePaul, Butler,
I know.
those were
I get.
three teams. Those were three teams that when I was in high school, those teams were religiously
I
like
know. I was just.
outside.
I had a
And
lot
this
of
is
hopium on my bracket.
before I actually had St. John's winning one of my brackets. I wish I would have looked into St. John's a little bit more because outside of the Big East, they didn't play a lot of good, talented SEC, ACC, Big Ten schools. So I think their lack. I mean, they played Baylor, who at the
Yeah.
time was number 13. They lost to them. They lost to Georgia, an ACC team that or SEC team that's not great. They lost to Creighton and Villanova.
Well,
So this isn't really a team that was battle tested outside of their conference. So
yeah.
had I looked
It's.
more into this, I probably would have been like, all
I
right,
don't know. I get what I get what you mean too, but bottom line, RJ Lewis was like 2 of 15 from the floor.
no, he
Or
was. It was
he was just absolutely horrible. But yeah, you're right. I mean, they didn't really play a contending schedule, and so that's kind of where matching up against Arkansas caught up to them.
see, and that's
Which
kind of the sad thing. Like I would have enjoyed like I would have liked the game more had it been, hey, Arizona, was the better team. They were getting stops left and right. It wasn't that St. John's just couldn't throw a rock in the ocean. I mean, like you said, Lewis was 3-17, Aaron Sally
yeah,
10.
you,
I mean,
you can't shoot, you can't be that. No, that's why you're
outside of Zuby
not dancing
Ejiofor,
anymore.
Zuby
But
Ejiofor was 7 for 12 from the
Patino
field.
benched him though with like 4 minutes to go in the game too. Like he lost all hope in him, all confidence. He was like, "You're
Well, I
on the
was gonna
bench."
say that. Well, I was gonna say, listen to this. Other than Zuby Ejiofor, who got 23 points, got 7 of 12 shooting from them. Outside of him, the other 4 starters went 5, 6. They made 7 shots from the floor and 35 attempts. That's insane. Like again, like that's
They
not
were cold, man. They were
they were
cold.
cool. And again, it's so sad because, like you said, you look at stats like that and you're like, hey, okay, maybe Arizona was just better. No, you look at stats like that and you're like, they just couldn't shoot. Like
They couldn't hit water. Couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat. But no, that Duke Arizona game was a fun game to watch. But Duke just had too much firepower. Caleb Love had a great
Mhm.
game, but just Cooper Flagg, Con Knipple, Tyrese Proctor, like you're starting to know these names now because they make such statements in these games. So um, somebody like one of my friends was saying that you could easily have 5 top 10 players from Duke in the NBA draft. I didn't think that was true. I think there would be three. I think three at
Yeah,
most, in my opinion.
I was gonna say for sure two,
Cooper and Khan,
probably
and then
three,
and
probably more.
Proct,
Like
then Proctor.
in the top 10, I'd say two for sure. Maybe I'd say Proctor would maybe go somewhere between 10 and 15. Maybe not
Yeah,
top 10 though.
yeah. So either way, there's talent all over the place in the
There's no,
NBA.
they
I
got
mean,
talent all over the place there, and I mean we can start getting into previewing the Final Four if you'd like, because like you alluded to, this Duke Houston matchup is literally I did my research. Duke coming into this game is literally the number one offense in the excuse me, nation. Houston is
it's,
literally the number
it's
one.
snowing out.
I saw it, and
It's
Houston
just
is literally the number one defense coming into this game. So this game is going to come down to is is Duke's offense just too good, or can Houston hang with? Because I think if Houston can hang with Duke, they give themselves an opportunity. If they can't contain
they
that offense, it could be a long night for them.
they can play. If they can play defense, if they can contain them, then maybe. But I think Duke is too strong.
No, no, I think
Duke is too
they're
strong.
very talented.
I
I
mean,
think
LJ Cryer, but they do. But Houston does a good defense.
they have a great defense.
But I think I want to see Duke versus Florida.
Well, and I was gonna say too, between this isn't to throw this isn't me throwing shade at either team. This isn't me saying screw screw Duke or screw Houston. I'm actually more excited for the Florida Auburn game because in my mind, this Florida Auburn game is literally a coin flip. Like again, no disrespect to either team, I could very well see if Houston's defense doesn't clamp up Cooper Flag and make life difficult for them. That game, even though it's a Final Four, could get out of hand. This Gator Auburn game, I think the entire team, no team will have a bigger lead than 5 or 6 points.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be an SEC dogfight. So, um, did they split the season series this
So they
season or?
actually, let's see, they actually played their first
I want to
game.
say Florida beat them.
Yeah, Florida beat them 90-81, and they only played each other once.
Okay. Yeah, I
It was
mean,
a home game for Auburn. It was a home game for Auburn, and they lost to Florida 81-90.
no.
That's a game that Clayton Jr. only scored 18 points.
Well, how that the way he closed the game. Um, what was it, Sunday, where he where like he it was like he got the offensive rebound and he was gonna like drive it, but then he did the total Steph Curry and stood back and shot that three. That was that was a hell of a play. So he's probably gonna be a top 10. He'll probably be a top 10 pick.
Johnny Brome.
Walter Clayton Jr.
Oh yeah, Walter Clayton Jr. I think Walter, unless either one of them,
Broom probably.
I was gonna say unless Clayton Jr. or Johnny Brome have just horrible games or get into like some kind of fight or something like that, both those guys should probably go top 10 with Cooper Flag and Connor too. I would say.
Yeah, but that's going to be a good game. I hope Florida wins.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
hope
honestly,
Florida wins.
I kind of go back and forth. I kind of go back and forth. I don't really know who to take on that. It's betting and picking games. It's also worth noting. I don't know if you've been following. I guess you said you've probably been seeing him on Facebook. I know this guy doesn't have TikTok. I'm trying to talk him into getting TikTok just for business purposes with the podcast.
While you're doing that, that's my birthday tomorrow, so I'm grabbing a seltzer.
Yes, no, happy
Oh,
early birthday to this crazy guy.
this crazy guy.
Coming into the Final Four, we are 19-17 in our picks. So not phenomenal, but hey, not bad for being relatively new and early to this betting game. There have been a couple of people close to me and people that have told me, "Hey, get into the betting stuff and picks and all that kind of fun stuff." And there are people that really like the picks that I have no idea about. So I'm getting
Yeah,
to
you've been hitting on your picks. My picks just suck.
I mean, this is something that
We need to find my people.
exactly. I was gonna say this is something that whether we're making some just additional videos but like each week we're gonna be doing picks and betting and stuff like that. Obviously, for the rest of the season, bet against the Minnesota Twins. Um, I mean, 19 and 17 going into the Final Four, not terrible. Could be a lot worse, but could be a lot better. But again, it's
Over 500.
anything can happen. But yeah, I would agree with you. I think Duke's gonna beat Houston. I don't know what the line. I think let's see. My only thing with that game. I don't. Oh shit! I spoke too soon. The Twins must be listening. They're up 5-3. Be
There
right
you go.
to the eighth. They'll finally get a
Maybe
win.
we should just shouldn't watch and they'll win. Just let's pay no mind. Jump back on the bandwagon and then we get hyped up and they lose. Just kidding.
Yeah,
April Fools.
I mean 5.5 points. I don't know. I think Duke's gonna win. I just don't know if it's gonna be a 2 or 3 point game or if it's gonna be a 15-point game. So I might. You guys give me a couple days and I will make my TikTok with my official picks. Honestly, that game I love betting the spread, but I think I might just met my pick for that game might just be Duke money line. Just because I don't know how that game's gonna go. I would say
Yeah.
I was gonna say over under for sure. That's gonna go over. And Florida Auburn is gonna for sure go under 160 and a half. Um, Looking at that line, I'd probably rather take Auburn plus 2.5 over Florida minus 2.5. But yeah, if I had to give it to you guys right now, I'd probably take the Duke Blue Devils right at minus 250 rather than trying to take the spread at 5.5.
All I'm looking at is when I'm seeing the final four is it's a number one, a number one, a number one, a number one. Like you don't really
I know.
there's not really any wiggle room to pick which upset would be the upset. So
No, exactly. They said, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm sure you've heard some of the stuff too. This is the first time that all four number one seeds have made the Final Four since was it 2017?
yeah,
16
and
maybe.
then I don't think that had ever happened, but I don't know.
But yeah, like if you go back into the annals history of the March Madness, more often than not, there's at least two number one seeds, and I don't think there's ever been a seed lower than 6 to ever make the Final Four. I would have to double. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I know. Well, LSU made it as an 11 because we had talked about this on the last live stream. It was Villanova that won the title, but then my buddy Mitch, he was like, you forgot about I think UConn. They were like an 8 or a 9 seed, and they won the national title. Wichita State was a 8 seed. Florida Atlantic. So I don't know. I need to go. I need to get on the dozen. Barstool Sports Trivia.
So the lowest seed, you were right. The lowest seed to win the title was Villanova, who was number 8 in 1985. The lowest seed to make the championship game was North Carolina. Or lowest team and most recent was North Carolina in 22, Kentucky in 14, and Butler in 2011. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. I forgot about God, what was that guy's name?
Gordon Hayward.
Gordon Hayward. That's right.
Matt Howard.
lowest seed to make the Final Four was the 2018 Loyola Chicago team. Shout out their oh my gosh, no, I was wrong. 2024 NC State, 2021 UCLA, 2018 Loyola Chicago. The lowest seed to make the Elite Eight, St. Peter's as a 15 seed. Ooh, remember that?
Holy smokes.
Dude, I'm not kidding you.
I forgot it.
Probably find it if I need to show people proof. So my mom, and we were just talking about this.
And that was 3 years ago, 2022.
Yeah. So brief lesson on how Jack approaches March Madness. Every year I tell, and this isn't a dig on them. They're just not huge sport people.
Right. No, I get the same energy. So
But every year I tell my mom, my sister, and my wife, you guys need to make it, if nothing else, at least one bracket. Because in my mind, Warren Buffett, CBS, all these places have these enormous amounts of money for anybody to get a perfect bracket.
Oh.
When it inevitably happens, because you know someday it's going to happen to somebody like the three of them who know nothing about basketball versus someone like Sam or I who, like you talked about earlier, analyzes this game. So with that said, keep that in mind. In 2022, my mom made a March Madness bracket. Can't remember if I was doing the March Madness bracket through the mini weekend yet or not, but on God, my mother selected St. Peter's, the number 15 seed, to make a national championship game.
Shit's close.
It was either the Final Four or the national championship game. And I remember this because I remember talking about, I think I must have done it with the podcast. So I remember being on the podcast. I'm like, hey, oh my gosh, like somebody's got like the Elite Eight almost down to it, except one. And it was my mom. And St. Peter's was not the wrong one. So, Mom, if you're listening, shout out to you.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I totally spaced that one. St. Peter's Elite Eight. That was weird.
Yeah, and then make the Sweet 16. There's been a handful of them, but then I can't get over this. There have been in my lifetime 2 number 16 seeds, 2 number 1 seed happened in 23 and 18. Insane.
So we spaced that 2 weeks ago. We totally forgot about Fairleigh Dickinson against Purdue, and that was 2 years ago.
We did, and UMBC beat. Oh, that was Virginia.
Yeah,
that was Virginia because that was the year
in a blowout.
That was the year that, every year leading up to that, Little Caesars had this deal that if a number 1 seed lost, they were going to give out free lunch combos the entire day, and it
backfired.
They had to listen to this because this was back in the day when I was working for a company that right across the street was a strip mall connected to a Lunds Byerly's, and there was Little Caesars. So once a week, I would pick just a random day that lunch combo, and that week I went to it. But of course, they had to back themselves, and there's like, Little Caesars are technically franchised. Leaving it up to the owners if they want to partake. And we told them even if they want to partake in it, they can only do it between this hours and this hour. But it still happened, and they haven't done it since.
The ultimate backfire.
Seriously,
you can't do that. Mm-mm.
But yeah,
those are my. Yeah. So, but no, it's been a fun tournament. It's good dance.
It's been a really fun tournament. I mean, honestly, to everybody out there that talks about, oh, it hasn't been that fun to watch, there hasn't been any upsets. It's like, I don't watch March Madness for the upsets. I watch it for good basketball. I mean, even some of those, it's tough to say because you never want to see. You always kind of feel bad for those 16 and 15 seeds that just get slaughtered by the number 1 and number 2 seeds. But at the same time, as a basketball fan, it's like those type of games, they make you feel bad for that team, but they also help you realize, like, holy shit, this Duke team really is good.
Yeah, they've opened my eyes in this tournament, but Cooper Flagg especially, he's a highlight film.
No doubt.
Are the Twins still losing, or what's the prognosis on that?
See, oh shit, I forgot the Wolves play tonight too.
Wolves are on after
I just got
that.
a
Did
notification. I think they just started.
yeah.
Let's see here.
Well,
Oops.
what's your thoughts on that brawl?
Thoughts on that brawl? I don't hate it. I don't hate it. And if I'm being completely honest with you, I think Chris Finch is a little bit of a bitch for his comments. Well, I understand.
What did he say?
I can't remember exactly what he said, but he was just like Detroit was playing, super physical, and they're essentially the ones, that they're the reason we got into the scuffle. It's like, look, there's
I
nothing wrong.
mean,
There's nothing wrong with having a bit of a backbone and telling your guys, hey, stand up for yourself, stand up for each other. Like, you want a brawl to happen? No, but you don't need to say it's all Detroit's fault. Like Dante definitely could have stepped back and said, "You're a bitch," and walked away.
I don't know. It was chippy. It was chippy from the start. But Isaiah Stewart is crazy.
Isaiah
Like
Stewart needs
like
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 4
like
games.
that man is nuts. Like that dude. Do you remember? I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago, where where LeBron accidentally gave him an inadvertent elbow, and then he was just leaking from his face, and Isaiah Stewart just absolutely snapped and like tried to probably murder LeBron James.
Dude
Like
is
he is crazy.
dude is a psychopath. I think I'm gonna butcher it if I don't read
I
it.
mean, they gave him the extra two. Like he got an additional game. Like everybody else, like Nas got one,
No, everybody just
Dante
got
got one,
Isaiah got 4 games.
Sasser got one.
Isaiah got 4 games.
I thought he got two.
No, he got 4. He got 4.
Oh, okay, well, it's
But I'm gonna go back because I want to talk.
he is
Okay,
he's kind of
so
he's a
okay,
wild child.
and I want to read what I sent to Sam because if I don't, I'm gonna say something wrong that I don't need to. So my difference, because I kind of compared him. Isaiah Stewart is an asshole, and Dylan Brooks, like I can deal with him, but he's not my favorite. And this is how I brought it down. I said Isaiah should be out of the league. He's a little shit. That was one of the first things I put. Then I said, oh, I think he's worse than Dylan Brooks, and I can hardly stand that guy.
He's a fucking moron.
Defender. He's not great, but he thinks he's so much better than he really is, and that's what really ticks me off. And I said, like, I can deal with a guy like Brooks. Sure, he stirs the pot, but he's actually a decent defender, and he gets put in his place a lot and deserving to start. Stewart, I cannot deal with him. Like
He's a big bully.
well, and he's. Like I said, look at his stats. He's terrible on the offensive side of the ball and on the defensive side of the ball, and seeks out to be an asshole. And there's no place, in my opinion, there's no place in the league like that. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you can be, like even look at a guy like Draymond Green. I cannot believe. Like this is how bad I dislike a guy when I have to give Draymond Green his flowers. He isn't the world's best offensive player because when have you ever seen anybody contest one of his 3-point shots?
Yeah.
But he's solid enough on the offensive side and solid enough on the defensive side that he stirs the pot and he doesn't get a ton of attention from the league. He does from players because that's just the respect he's given. Isaiah gets none of that, and Dylan Brooks gets like minimal of that. Like
they're both bitches. But Isaiah Stewart is on a different level.
you
gotta check out that video of him going nuts. Like you have Russell Westbrook there, just getting ready to.
Yeah, what are you doing? Like, you're not one of them.
So, but yeah, unfortunately, Twins suck. But it's early in the season. We don't really have to get on them much. But yeah, Timberwolves. This is a stretch run.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say maybe sometimes this summer I don't know the rules and regulations on because I don't know if my brother's watching. Shout out Dan if you are. My brother had this great idea because he's actually one of the guys that's like, hey, like your football picks, like Vikings picks and picks throughout the football season are awesome. Like you should get into like side casting where like you're doing the watching the game while
Yeah.
commentating, whatever. And legally for copyright reasons, I don't know if I can do that, but like maybe we can try to figure out something like that, or maybe we do like a live stream while we're watching the Twins games and comment on that or whatever. Like,
Yeah. And then like I want to get a laptop too as well. Kind of help with production and all that fun stuff too. But I don't know. We'll see what 40 is gonna to bring me. So
yeah, like I said, if you find this guy, he's a ghost. He's trying to live off the grid. If you can find him on social media, go ahead.
YouTube.
Happy
You,
birthday. You can wish him a happy early birthday before midnight. If it's after midnight, just go ahead and say happy birthday, you bitch.
oh God, 40 years old.
40 years young.
Oh boy, yeah. Here we are, and it's snowing, so still right. Yeah.
But
Oh,
yeah,
but
anything else from you, my friend?
do we have any Q&A at all, or
No Q&A, unfortunately, this week, which totally fine. This kind of, in the listener's defense, this was more of a last minute live stream than our first one was, which is
it was
fine.
an April Fool's joke. This is all a lie.
But there
But
will be, I mean, we don't need to
more
write
co-
right this second, but just as a reminder for people who are listening and for people who will watch the archived version, there will be no episode next week. I will be out of town. But the next one will either be on the 16th for our weekly one, or it will be sometime between the 17th and 18th for a preview of the NHL playoffs.
are they?
I think we're already at the time of the year where baseball's already started. March Madness is wrapping up. Like the end of the regular season for NBA and NHL is already here. Like, what the shit happened? Feels like
Yeah, it's this.
wrapping up with the Super Bowl, man. Holy moly.
I'm already. Yeah, this is why I shouldn't be getting back on social media. But there's something that said, "Hey, we're already 25% done with 2025." It's like, oh my god.
Don't they don't need to do that. Even though it's
No, gotta enjoy the summer. I'm looking forward to it.
definitely do.
Yeah, yeah. Just also the snow, the like the weather really puts a damper on things in
It does.
Minnesota too.
It
Like,
really does.
because yesterday I'm walking my dog a few times. The sun's out, partly cloudy, but then you get this stuff, and it's still like 40 degrees. It's not warm enough to suntan or swim or anything like that, or go for a really nice run or anything like that. It's just it bogs you down a little bit.
Yeah,
So
well, and it's yeah, it's crazy because I mean I in April and like the snow, yes, it sucks, but like March, April, even early May, you kind of expect a couple gloomy days here and there because in Minnesota, unfortunately, spring is known as kind of like the the
it's very schizophrenic and bipolar.
um, but it'll get warmer and we'll probably be at a Twins game or two this summer. I know my kid. I brought the little guy to one of those kids' day games last year. So
Nice.
every home, I have to double check. Don't quote me on this, but I think every home Sunday Twins game is at 1 p.m. and it's a kids' day, so tickets are discounted. So I went with kiddo that, yes, if you do listen to TikTok, the kiddo that gave his picks of one of my last videos, brought him, and then my parents came with, and I think for the four of us, we got tickets, kind of like nosebleed tickets that weren't terrible seats for like $30 total, maybe
Nice.
like even with fees and all that kind of stuff. Um, Everything, all like the normal concessions that kids can eat are discounted. So I went to go
Nice.
a hot dog for me, a hot dog for him, a Gatorade and a water, and I think those four were like $12 maybe,
That's
which was nice.
That's not bad. I mean, those
But
games
then on
are.
top of that, back in that, so like if you're behind home plate here, back in the right field where they have that grass area, where they have like
Mhm.
and like chairs you can set up for normal games. For kids' days, there's all sorts of like games and stuff that they can throw and
Yep.
do things and take pictures,
Nice.
which was cool. He loved that. Um, but the best part for him was the twin store, believe it or not, and was another reminder to me that grandparents they have a very very hard time saying no to grandchildren. So watching that have their kids, just remember that they have a very hard time saying no. So he came up with more stuff than I did.
There you go. I mean, spoil them rotten.
Sure. But no, it was an awesome time. He's already asking to go back and Twins games or Kids Day games. I don't know if you remember this, but if you go to those Kids Day games, if you stay for the entire game,
You get to run around the bases.
bases. So he's too young for that. He doesn't really get like I'm not going to keep him at a game from 1 to 4:30. Like he's just not going to have the patience for it. But once he's school age, he's going to want to do it and he is going to be so gassed up and I used to do that a couple times. So
Yeah,
he's
when do you remember your first baseball game, like you went to for
I
Twins?
don't, but that's only because my dad brought me to a couple games at the Metrodome when I was very, very little. I was probably my kid's age right now. I was probably 3 or 4 when I went to my first couple.
Okay, yeah, I had just turned 7, 1992,
Nice.
playing the Texas Rangers. Guess who the Minnesota Twins starting pitcher was?
In '92,
Yeah,
wasn't Joe Ryan? Oh gosh, who was it?
1992.
I'm
I don't
thinking
know.
somebody. I have a picture in my head. I can't think of a name. I'm gonna hurt myself once I hear the name.
Well, Texas Rangers reserve starter was, I believe, Kevin Brown,
Oh
who
God,
turned out to be a
who
phenomenal.
was our starter?
Pat Mahomes.
Oh my God, that's right. And now he's got a dipshit son.
My very first Major League Baseball game. So it was like
That is
April 6th with my grandpa, my dad. Yeah. Pat Mahomes was the starting pitcher. So how about that?
that. Wow, that is. I kind of like. I knew he was our pitcher. I kind of forgot his time frame though. I thought for some reason I was thinking he was a little later in the '90s, like mid '90s. But wow, that makes me feel old.
I mean, he was because he played for the New York Mets in like the late '90s, and he actually turned into a decent reliever. But yeah, that's
Oh my gosh,
quite
that
a
makes me feel old as shit.
no. Tell me about it.
Yeah,
Six,
yeah. As long as I'm
6 years
on a
old
live
now.
stream with you, I shouldn't be really talking about old. My apologies.
It's all good.
But no, I
Just
I just hope the Twins can, and maybe we can touch on the Twins here. We're doing pretty good on time before we let you guys go. I'm not trying to give. I can't remember the name of our general manager, but I'm not trying to give him an out. I'm not trying to give.
Falvey,
But oh,
Derek Falvey.
still is Baldelli still?
He's manager. Baldelli's manager. That Derek Falvey is the GM.
Yeah. Oh no, sorry, I meant like the manager, Baldelli.
Gotcha. My
So I'm
bad.
not trying to give him an out. I'm not trying to give Buxton an out. I'm not trying to give any of our star players an out. But this 0-5 start, in my opinion, is 100% our
Wait,
membership's fault. It's
wait. They
100.
lost again. They lost again.
No, oh no, they were coming into this game 0-5.
I thought they were 0-4.
No, they came into this game 0-5. I'm almost positive.
God.
Oh no, you're right. You're right. I stand corrected. 0-4.
Yeah.
Um,
They're up 5-3. Okay, but
and
yeah, go on.
So no, so my oh no, Wallner just got a double in the top of the ninth. So my whole point is it's like this terrible start is 100% on the ownership. Like you told this team, like this is a team that I'm sure it's going to sound like a really Minnesotan thing to say, but it's so
Minnesota.
true. Like had we actually spent money and gone out and got a solid reliever, another starter, and maybe another utility player, we could have had a legitimate chance to win the pennant last year. We didn't. Fine. We didn't. Fine. But the fact that not only did they not be aggressive in the trade deadline, but the fact that they weren't aggressive at all and they didn't do shit.
They don't do jack squat.
They didn't sign anybody. They didn't trade anybody. And I think they're just waiting for somebody to buy the team. And I don't think the Pohlads understand the less they do, the less of a commodity they're making this team to be. Like, I think I was
I'll,
Go ahead.
My bad. Let me interrupt. You don't want to watch the Timberwolves game. People need to be watching our stream right now. It's 14-2, Denver early. It's looking ugly. But yeah, no, you're
runs, my friend.
But correct. But yeah, it's game of energy. But it's just inexcusable. I mean, isn't there a report that they're $425 million in debt or something? Like, like the Twins aren't making any money?
Yeah, no. So that's what my dad was telling me. My dad was saying that apparently some third party came in and evaluated the team at like 1.3 or 1.4 bill. And they were like, "Oh, that's awesome. We want to sell the team for 1.7 bill because some other team sold for 2 bill." And my dad's like, "That makes no sense." Other than the fact that actually my dad said he didn't say that. He said it makes sense if you understand it and you look into the Pohlads financials. Part of the reason they're asking for so much, for a little bit more than what they're evaluated at, is because the Pohlads are in so much debt. And I don't even know.
Well, that's the family inheritance, and they just sell the team. Just sell it to the fans. Like I had talked to you about how the voter, like the Twins, like the public should own that damn team. But now I don't even want it.
Okay, and I know you're not gonna like this because you're partially their fan a little bit too. Look at how effed up the Green Bay Packers organization is. And they're owned by the fans. The Twins should not be owned by the fans. We're already the joke of the league. We don't need that. We just don't.
They don't call it Titletown USA for nothing there, Jackie.
They've had one Super Bowl since 2000.
It's all good. No worries. We'll cross that. Well, if you're gonna go on that subject, how come Aaron Rodgers isn't going away?
Because in the
good question.
I see a defo mensa. You can't shut the door on anything.
I don't know. It's an April Fool's joke. Why doesn't he sign with the Steelers? Like, what's the deal with that? Like, why are they making this such a drama?
The Steelers already signed somebody. I can't remember who it was. Justin Fields?
They re-signed him?
Oh, no, it wasn't him.
Fields went to the Jets, I thought, or something.
Depth chart.
But either way,
you're right. Actually, holy crap, you're right. Yeah, they got Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson.
Ooh, they're bringing out the big guns.
I don't get it. Part of my issue is I understand, like, if you're Aaron Rodgers, and it makes sense. Aaron Rodgers was the one that reached out and wants to come here because of the setup. But again,
yeah, it's perfect.
I told you and I told my brother that no reason he needs to come anywhere he needs.
You're going to drive your Hyundai Tucson and go to Egan to knock on Quezzy's door if that happens.
He is a locker room cancer.
We're getting close.
He's not even a guy that you can say, shut the fuck up. We're not doing your things your way or the highway. Like, we have a top 10 player. There's no reason for him to come here. I don't know. Quezzy should do the right thing and close the door on this thing. But there's something in me that questions Aaron Rodgers' motive, because I know we haven't officially said yes or no to him. we've said we're leaning a lot more to the no with him than the yes. But I read a report the other day that um, there's something of an offer from the Pittsburgh Steelers to Aaron Rodgers, and Tomlin has come out saying that there's no timetable, like there's no, oh, we need to know by this date. If you're Aaron Rodgers and you're looking at two teams, the Vikings and the Pittsburgh Steelers, you know the Pittsburgh Steelers want you, and you're not quite sure. You don't think the Vikings want you. If you want to play and if you want to start next year, why wouldn't you just sign with the Steelers, the team you know that wants you? So it really questions like it really makes me think like what's your deal, dude?
It comes down to which team is more likely to get to the Super Bowl right now, the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Minnesota Vikings.
Minnesota Vikings went away, but we can do that without him.
So, well, Aaron Rodgers wants to jump along for the ride. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. Let me.
You might need some Tums or something because.
I mean, I don't want to do this, but you're forcing me to do this. So, Mr. Rogers was on the Jets last year, right?
Breaking up the stats.
He, my gosh, look at this. He had Brees Hall in the backfield. He had.
Brees sucked this season. He was my fantasy. He was my fantasy running back. He was garbage. Yeah, he was great.
Adams, no way. Allen
Devontae.
Conklin, Mike Williams.
Tyler
sounds like an offense that is, I don't know.
Mike Williams couldn't catch, and Aaron Rodgers called him out for that and essentially got him released.
You're right. Let's just look on the defensive side of the ball. Let's see who they had.
Oh, defense. Is Sauce coming? Is Sauce coming to the Vikes?
He should be. Ooh. I hear
that would be good.
From a credible source, after the draft. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't tell you this. You're going to find somebody else.
Breaking news. Breaking news.
Breaking news. I heard from a reliable source after the draft and maybe after 4th of July, they're trying to do it so that to go with the formula for the draft compensation stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Flacco and Asante Samuel will sign with the Minnesota Vikings. Here.
Flacco does. I mean,
that would be so money.
Flacco makes sense.
Flacco makes sense. He's got a great relationship with KOC. He's a veteran. He's the kind of veteran that JJ can actually learn from. He's a guy that's probably not going to play much unless JJ is hurt or
for sure.
And he's got a great relationship with Quasi. He's got a great relationship with KOC. I think it's going to be perfect. And then to have one of the safeties in the league.
No, I totally agree.
Backfield with Harrison Smith, who's probably, oh my gosh, we better win a Super Bowl this year. I don't think I could live with the fact that we win a Super Bowl with Harry the Hitman. And he's probably going to retire next year.
You think this is the year?
I think. Well, he signed a 1-year deal with us.
Well, we say it every year, Jack. Every single year.
I'm just saying. I don't want to get our hopes up. It would be so picture perfect to win a Super Bowl for Harrison Smith in his last.
I just want them to get to the Super Bowl. I mean,
yeah, true.
I know we bicker and battle about Packers, Vikings, and all that. Deep down, let's go Vikes, but they let you down. They let you down every single year.
I was gonna say, knock on wood. As much as I don't like the Packers, you always want to beat the good teams like the Packers. You always want to beat, the Lions, when they're healthy and when they're at their best.
Yeah.
Again, on paper, as much as I hate to admit it, the Green Bay Packers have a very solid roster. The last 2 years, their key guys, Jair Alexander, Romeo Dobbs, Christian Watson, even Jordan, they can't stay healthy.
No,
Stay healthy. So how can you expect to be relevant when these guys?
but
Jair Alexander, I'm sorry, he's kind of maybe turn. I'm sensing he's turning a little bit into an Aaron Rodgers. How injured were you really last year? Like, were you maybe just
he's
over a couple before a couple games or something?
yeah. I don't know. Everybody's injuries are different, so I'm not one to judge. But if it has anything to
Oh, I'm
do with like
judging.
if it has something to do with an upcoming paycheck, it's just like, can you blame him? So I don't know. I don't know. It's
All right.
it's
Well,
it's just your bitterness of Wisconsin people, and that's okay.
Wisconsin. As far as I'm concerned,
But
they're the Wicked Witch of the East.
that'll make sense. But yeah, the
All
Wolves
right.
are down
Oh my
14.
God.
Jokic is looking like Jokic is insane.
Oh my
Um,
gosh. Who's this? So the what? I don't even know who this guy is. So Harrison Bader hit a three-run dinger in the top of the ninth. So going into the bottom of the ninth, we actually have an 8-3 lead on the White Sox.
is that our first is that our first home run of the year?
I think second. Excuse you.
Who who,
Excuse you.
who got the first?
Good question. Let me see. Um, yeah, second. The
Here,
first one. Oh, Willie Castro. Willie Castro actually played decent for us last year. So
no, he's a great utility guy. He'll be excellent trade bait, but because we're Harrison Bader, like I don't know who that guy is, but Harrison Bader, he played for the Cardinals, and then I want to say he played for the Mets recently.
oh,
But
I gotcha.
he's okay. Not
Yeah, I mean,
it's
we're about to get the first. Hey, you just got to get the first win. You know.
we're getting our first win, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go. All
You
right,
know who really. You know what? Never mind. We don't need to go down that rabbit hole.
let's
Never
do it. Who
mind.
cares? It's April Fools.
You know who I think actually screwed and cursed us with our start that we had? The guy
Uh,
who tweeted, "Watch us, happy opening day, Minnesota. We're going 162-0." Want to know who
gosh,
tweeted that?
Minnesota Twins marketers.
Nope. Governor Walls.
No,
Thanks,
that's
Walls.
your that's your boy though.
No, farthest thing from it.
You,
Farthest. I would
we're
love to
now
sit down with him. So, but
we'll branch off to a different part of the mini weekend of our views.
no, we don't need to get into that. We don't need to get into that.
Uh,
People
that's
that
too
need to
funny.
know how I feel. So,
That's too that's too fun. It's all fair loves war. What
um,
it is,
but no, I
it
mean,
is what it
you just got to get the monkey off your back with the win.
is. Perfect. You get your first win tonight, and then tomorrow's Liberation Day. Let's go.
I would love to see the Twins by the end of the season sell the team. I don't think you're gonna see them sell the team until after the season. Like you just don't really see that happening. This
Yeah,
in the middle of a season,
you just got to figure out what in the world are they doing on the part of
nothing. They're doing
like
nothing. And if they
like.
do nothing,
However, hey, I mean the bright spot is Fox 9 is adding what 15 games to their lineup. So hey, if you have an antenna, you can watch them for free. I mean, that's the start. That's essentially what I wanted them to do to begin with is have all the games where people can actually watch because free advertising. But
yeah,
whatever. I mean, I'm just a person with ideas and things, and I just don't get paid for it. But one day they will. Who knows?
right. No doubt.
Oh, but I just hope they play. I mean, I hope everybody's healthy and just wake up. I mean, Jug Zolgad, he nailed it on. I don't know if you watched the Score North podcast, but they look dead. They look just they're no
This
energy, no flow. So hopefully tonight was, you know, wake the fuck up time. Like you got to play baseball.
right. By the way, you and I'm used to it because my brother is a lot like you when it comes to Minnesota sports. I understand we're losing in this first quarter to the Denver Nuggets right now, 13 points. But I have a bone to pick with you, sir, because you know that demanding win, that big win we got in that Detroit game, that huge brawl that happened. You want to know how
Correct.
many
This is
we were down in the first quarter in that game? We
like
were down
15
by
or 20.
we were down by 18 points in the first quarter, and we were losing by as many as 24 points to that team, and we came back and beat them by 16 points.
Good deal, man. It's good. I don't know. You're an optimist for the Timberwolves, so I
It's
get
not
it.
it's not being an
I
optimist,
get it.
and
But it is a
I
game
would
of
challenge
flows. It is a game of rhythm. They're just not doing it
not rhythm.
consistently.
It's a game of runs, and it's a game of runs, and you hope you're on the last run. This is like think about it in terms like this. If we had Steph Curry on our roster, would you worry about a 21 point deficit? No, that's 7 shots for that guy.
Well, here's the deal. We had our shot to get Stephen
That's
Curry
not
on
the
our
point.
roster,
That's not the point,
and
Sam.
but yeah, I
Not the
get it. It is a game, but I get it. It's a game of runs. It is
So
a game of runs.
that's the thing. We have arguably one of the best players on our roster. He might not have been taking a ton of shots so far. There's a chance. I'm not saying there's not a chance we still lose that game. Of course, there's a chance we lose that game. There's a chance we lose every game we play. But we were down by 18 points, 20 points in the first fucking quarter
Oh, for
against.
sure. But this is a very big game because when like we've beaten Denver every single game, haven't we?
We're 3-0 against them.
Like
We win this one, we get sweep.
so we would be sweeping Denver, and then we would have swept Phoenix 4-0, 4-0.
And we also have a sweep
But
of Clippers 3-0.
okay, well, I mean,
No, if you look at the standings, I think I talked about this earlier. If you look at the standings,
block.
Oklahoma City Thunder, we're 2-2 against them. Houston Rockets, 2-2 against them. Denver Nuggets, 3-0 against them with the game of play we're doing right now. LA Lakers, 2-2 against them. Memphis Grizzlies, 2-1 against them with still a game to play. Golden State Warriors, 0-3. So the Golden State Warriors are the only team ahead of us that we have a losing record to, and we're still.
Okay. And we have I think 9 games left after this one.
No, we have less than that. We have
8.
We're 43 and 32. After this one, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games left.
Chris Finch has Josh Minot in the game already.
And Josh Minot, hey, don't you shit talk Josh.
No, I'm just saying that's early. It's the first quarter. Like that's generally he'll get late second garbage minutes.
No, honestly,
but he just hit a 3. So
look at that.
Look at that.
9-point game. Oh, we're down 15. Oh, we're not gonna win. We're down by 9 now, boy. Rally cap.
I mean, we could do the live share stream or whatever, but I don't know.
Game. I'm just again. This is the eternal optimist. I am of the that we are not even.
Say it's a championship. You say it's a 6-point game. How? Oh shit! This is why I hate this shit.
Why? Because I'm actually right a lot of the times.
No, I messed up my stream coverage. It wanted to sign me out, but no, because it was an 11-point lead, and I was like, how much time is left? It's a 9-point lead right now. 1:18 left. Unless I hit a 3, then let's see. 32-26.
6-point lead, baby. Rally cap. Ready? Rally cap.
I need
that. Is that how you do it?
I don't know. I always thought it was the inside out deal.
I'm not gonna ruin my
and,
hat like
and,
that.
and you do
This,
like this kind like this
this.
kind of thing. There we
Let
go.
me let me.
There's the April Fools.
No, but I mean the other thing about the Nuggets that I will bring up, the Nuggets are very aggressive and very handsy. So if you play the Nuggets and if you can get some of their guys like Aaron Gordon or Nikola Jokic in early foul trouble, that is the recipe to beat that team.
And Nikola Jokic is just a overall freak of nature.
He really is.
Like you allow him to play freely, you're done. You're cooked. And how slow he is, like going up the court, but just I don't know. That's the way he operates. He's an interesting basketball player, but he's really, really good.
Yeah.
So,
No,
oh, and
I
there he
can't
is.
stand him because he just doesn't give
Oh,
a shit
missed a
about the
three.
game. He's really good at the game, but he doesn't give two shits about it. He cares more about his horses. Like, go be with your horses, return.
Oh, but yeah, he just has an unorthodox, just clumsy, just I don't know. I don't know how he's so good, but it's entertaining to watch.
Yeah,
So,
a little bit, but
but
yeah,
he's like,
yeah.
so
You guys came for a March Madness recap Final Four preview, and you got a little bit of everything. And honestly, we did it in decent time too. So
yeah,
yeah,
not
like I
so
said,
bad.
heading into
Oh,
my bad, heading
it's,
into a Final Four. I know, I'm sorry, that was loud.
sorry,
Heading into the Final Four with a 19-17 in our picks. Like I said, I'm still not sure who I'm going to take in those games, but I will keep you guys peeled with that. It's been a good tournament so far. I'm excited. I think these last three games should be really fun to watch. And honestly, regardless of the who wins it, all four of these teams, I think I speak for both Sam and I when I say all four of these teams are deserving of it. Each team poses their strengths. Each team has their weaknesses. Some more than others, but it'll be a fun time. It'll be a fun couple games.
so it's been a fun dance. So,
It has been a fun
um,
dance. Any last words from you? Anything else from you?
um, I got a few more hours of my 30s, and it's crazy. It's gonna be 40 tomorrow, and wish me luck at the casino.
Will do. He will be at
But
Mistake Lake. If you guys are,
exactly, yeah, no joke. Um, but no, it's fun. It's always fun talking sports, talking shop, and promoting Nico Medved. Wish him the best, and hopefully the Minnesota basketball brand is being reestablished, and we're moving forward.
amen.
Row the boat, Sky Yamaha, go Gophers.
And roll Toms. But yeah, one reminder before we go to there will be no podcast next week. Like I mentioned earlier, I will be out of town.
Where are you headed?
Florida.
Ooh,
My parents
nice.
are kind of at that point where they're actually going the 5th to the 19th. But Cassie, I, and the two kiddos are going down the 6th to the 10th. So a fun little
Nice.
time, like
Yeah.
a good enough time that Cal, the older one, will have a good time and he'll enjoy it. Um, the little one's not even supposed to be inside yet, so that'll be interesting.
Sure. Yeah, well,
It'll
you're
be
going to be out
fun.
of the doom and gloom here. I think it's going to be
I know.
still
I was gonna say,
cloudy for the next 7 to 10 days.
I was gonna say, I think by the time we get back on the 11th or 12th, it's supposed to be nice too, which is perfect
There
time.
we go. Yeah, mid April. That's what I'm thinking too. Weatherman Sam. Well, I've been trying to get good like storm photos and whatnot, but
Yeah.
it's been too chilly. But yeah, have fun out there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We'll do so. Yeah, like I said, no podcast next week. I'll try to get a couple videos on TikTok out for you guys. And then yeah, next podcast will either be our weekly podcast on the 16th or something on the 17th, 18th, or 19th from the NHL. Um, playoff preview. I will keep you guys updated with that. So we'll leave you with that. Till next time, Minnie.
Peace.
Okay, so I gotta run, but I wanted to ask you two questions. So